All right, well, they always said the artist formerly known as Prince, but he is dead. The 57-year-old singer dying at his home. We're told earlier today police were investigating a call from a resident at that compound who said there was a male who was complaining of breathing difficulties. It turned out that that was the musician Prince, of course, one of the more iconic and most successful musicians of all time. He has won 7 Grammy Awards, 30 nominations. 5 of his singles have topped the charts, 14 other songs hitting the top 10. Only the Beatles as a group outdid him in terms of multiple awards and worldwide recognition. The original score in the classic film Purple Rain, for which he is best known, obviously set the standard for musical films, very few of which have come out and been nearly of that caliber or that popularity. But he is gone. And there were signs maybe of this just a few days ago when he had to stop his private jet and land, make an emergency landing in Illinois. There, too, complaining of breathing difficulties, flu-like symptoms. But he went ahead and continued with the concert the next day. But this has been an on-again, off-again problem for him. But he never forgot his Minnesota roots, a very large compound. Some of these images are of that compound where the singer died today at 57, so similar to the initial reports we got when Michael Jackson had died. Remember, it was a housekeeper, I believe, at that time, who called in saying that there was difficulty rousing Michael Jackson, complaining of breathing difficulties. And here, too, another world-famous singer suffering the same fate. Different reasons, different times, different years, different personalities. Same fate. An entertainer who dies probably too young. The read from Niger, Innis, Dagen, McDowell, David Mercer, of course, David Asman, Charles Payne. We're going to discuss some other issues here, but it's a big deal, Charles Payne. I mean, this was a guy who cut across a broad spectrum. Dead. I
know. It's. I'm not even sure what to say right now. It's tough. It really is tough. 57 is such a young age, such a brilliant, artist. And he was one of these artists who was in it for the artistic sake of it. You know, he was a trailblazer, particularly with the technology. He was a rebel within the music industry. He set a template for modern day artists in this new environment where you can't make money with album sales anymore.
Right, right.
So he was a true, genuine person in many different ways, not just to his music, but to the craft and the industry itself. And I'm just cell-shocked as a fan. You know, I really did love his music and his commitment to being great.
Yeah, what I kind of admired about him, I'm not nearly the expert, Charles, I loved his music, but Niger, the fact that, you talk about Michael Jackson and you talk about Prince, one was embraced by an industry, in Michael Jackson's case, another who almost repudiated that industry and took great delight in, sticking his finger back at him, even to the point of oftentimes not going to award shows to make a statement. He was at the Grammys this year, but to make a statement that he was nobody's puppet, I believe. And even when these album deals, we felt that they hurt artists, he would go around them. Artists since, like Taylor Swift, have found ways to do the same thing. But I think a lot of that started with Prince.
Absolutely. I think we all remember when he actually changed his name to a symbol.
Remember that?
To make that point. And unlike a lot of folk who play these games for political correctness, Prince did it for principle. And I couldn't agree more with my colleague Charles. He was multi-talented, played several instruments, was a writer, a great singer, and even acted, as you said, in the movie Purple Rain. It is a sad day when the country could lose such a talent at such a precious young age of 57.
Dagen, you look at our greatest musical superstars, they die young. They die young.
They do, Neil, and I think that's, I was looking on Instagram, and Chris Rock, before it was confirmed that Prince had died, Chris Rock tweeted a photo from the cover of Prince's first album, and he said, "Say it ain't so." And that's really the reaction, because this, not to give away our age, but to Charles and to me, Prince is really the artist of our generation. It's not Madonna. It's not Guns N' Roses. It was Prince, because of his boundless creativity and his boundary pushing. And I said this about David Bowie. He made it okay to be different and strange. He starred in the movie Purple Rain, wearing platform heels and his diminutive stature and his whisper of a voice. And he was a movie star and he was a rock star, and his talent was just indescribable.
You know, David Asman, one of the things you always talk about when you talk about stars is there's usually a certain, type A personality to them. They might be irascible, but they seek out the limelight. Not Prince.
No.
In fact, he almost avoided at all costs. What was it about people that he tried to avoid? I mean, concerts are one thing, but you didn't see him doing the talk show circuit. You didn't see him, with the exception of his movie, really seeking out that kind of.
Well, of course, he didn't have to. He had such a presence and such a personality. He was so marketable that he really didn't need much outside of his own personality, his own talent. But the other thing you mentioned before, Michael Jackson, Michael Jackson also had that shy kind of character, which played into the fact that he didn't go out and seek publicity as much as it came to him. I just want to say something else about him, which is that, like Michael Jackson, he was multicultural. My wife is from Nicaragua. She fell in love with him. A lot of people in Latin America, even though he didn't have the Latin beat all the time, they loved him. He was very big in Europe. He was very big in Asia. He really was one of these global figures as an entertainer and as an institution.
David Mercer, before we go here, is there a sense you have that, we go back on this and we hope it wasn't, drug or any related abuse. I don't know of that in his past. But people are going to start clawing into his personal life now. They're going to go into all of that stuff. There'll probably be documentaries on this. When you look at this and hear what you've heard of this, any reflections you'd like to have the way you remember him?
Sure, and I do remember not only from my co-panelists and what they've remarked on, but I did attend a concert nearly 15 years ago at the Garden, Madison Square Garden, and the words that come to my mind are original, classic, and timeless. And there he was on stage, unlike many other concerts, white shirt, button down, jeans, and only his guitar. And he had us spellbound for nearly 3 hours, as if we were in his living room, yet it was in a large venue like the Garden. And I don't think his star will ever dim. He has inspired other artists. He's given rise to other artists. The lyrics have spread globally, and I think he will stay with us both in mind and spirit and heart for generations to come. And my condolences to fans, particularly the family, and all of us that are so sorry that we're experiencing his passing.
All right, thank you guys very, very much. I mean, obviously, whether you are a fan of Prince's music or you like rock or you're more classical in taste, I mean, it's very sad, obviously, when something like this happens. I always find and remember odd things about celebrities, odd things about people in general. But as a man who made his home in Minneapolis and never left Minneapolis, I remember one story, I hope I got it right, where a lot of his colleagues were saying, you ought to come to Hollywood. That's where that's where you go when you make it big. And a man, a few words, Prince said, why? He died in Minneapolis, his home, that he never left. We'll have more to this.